President Biden's disastrous Poland trip made headlines across the globe for all the wrong reasons. The White House was forced to walk back some of the president's most stunning off-script moments. Take a look.
We will have a different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
If chemical weapons were used in Ukraine, would that trigger a military response from NATO?
It would trigger a response in kind.
You know, but the Ukrainian people have a lot of backbone. They have a lot of guts, and I'm sure you're observing it. Look at how they're stepping up. Look at how they're stepping up. And you're going to see when you're there, and some of you have been there.
You're going to see when you're there, Harris, he says to the 82nd Airborne, as if suggesting they're going into Ukraine. That was walked back. The chemical weapons comment walked back. And then the infamous one, you talked about it on your show, of course, the assertion with Russia that we're for regime change. I mean, I feel like this man is going to gaffe our way into World War III if we're not careful here.
Or just gaffe our way into being obsolete. No one's going to care what we do, because it won't matter, because they can't trust what's coming out of his mouth, because every time he says something of substance, it would seem, even though it's, you know, opposite of what everybody would anticipate inside the White House, they don't try to own it. They don't support their boss in a way that turns it into strategy. Look, I think Jay Johnson, formerly of the Obama administration, got this right. I think you own this. I think you say, you know what? The president said this. That's probably how he feels. It's not our foreign policy, but how do we work that? Like, how do we work that to our advantage? They're so busy treating him like the gaffe machine that we know him to be that they don't turn it into a win. What kind of a team do you have around you, Mr. President? They know you're going to do this. Who told us? Well, my goodness, Barack Obama is president. He knew it with the BFD thing, with the passing of health care. I tried to clean that up as much as possible, but it was Biden who said it on a hot mic, right? Oh, this is a da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, everybody sees it. But how do you then take what the president has done and make it a win for the United States? Look at the galvanized effect that that had immediately among some.
Exactly. And Emily, the three that we just played, I mean, those to me were in a different category. Those were the most dangerous comments I've heard made in 48 hours, given that you have a maniacal dictator, Putin, on the receiving end, who already has this preconceived notion that all those things are true. So to play into that is troubling. But there were also other gaffes. He said, don't jump to the 82nd Airborne, whatever that meant. Sanctions were not meant to deter when his whole administration said otherwise. He said he wanted to increase and disseminate food shortages. That's what was talked about. This was a series of gaffes.
A series, and even the AP points out this is the third major gaffe on a major issue of his trips to Europe. They have real consequences, and it might be devastating. The Wall Street Journal warns us that the world is entering the most dangerous period since the Soviet Union collapsed, and perhaps since the 1930s. And we have a president, a commander-in-chief, that can't get his words straight. Right? Charles Cook writes, the standard should be excellence. For those apologists that keep saying, oh, it's endearing his gaffes. Oh, we know what he means. Oh, it's because he's impolitic. No, it's not. What? It's because he doesn't know his stuff. I need my commander-in-chief. I need the leader of the free world to be on it, to be educated, to be articulate, to be accurate and apprised of the situation. And the fact that what we are witnessing is a cleanup every time. It's like watching curling in the Olympics, right? Where as he goes and makes these gaffes, someone's behind him sweeping the floor. It's mind-boggling because there are lives at stake, our security at stake, and unfortunately, I don't see an end in sight. So when you said there's sort of a remedy that needs to happen, an accountability that needs to happen, it's going to be at the ballot box.
Yeah. No, for sure.
That's a long ways off, though.
It is.
We got to get through this moment right now, and you can't say he's not political. The man's been in politics for 50 years. So either he's doing it on purpose, and wouldn't that be a fascinating strategy to show Putin that he means business, or he really is the biggest human gaffe machine. And his team is not helping him.
No, not at all. And to the point of his team, Trace, you know, they're calling these, many in the media, clarifications. The White House staff clarified on background, but to the point of my former colleague Stephen Miller, he said this is more like contradictions than clarifications.
Yeah, it's really almost like the president is constantly being reprimanded by his own people. And, the president speaks, and then we have to wait for the advisors to come out and tell us what the president meant during that speech, which is kind of awkward for the president. You talked about, Kayleigh, the whole montage thing and how it didn't include things like the sanctions and stuff, nor did it include when a couple of months ago he was talking about just a small incursion into Ukraine, wouldn't have the response. And we never really did get a response or reply, a clarification about what does it mean when he says chemical weapons are being used. If they're used, we would reply in kind. The definition of that would be with equal force, and they really haven't cleaned that one up because some of these things are a little tougher to clean up. I want to steal this quote, if I can, from the Wall Street Journal. They say, quoting here, the same critics who are lambasting Mr. Biden helped to hide his obviously fading capacities in the 2020 campaign. They circled the wagons around his Delaware basement because they thought he was the only Democrat who could defeat Donald Trump. Well, now he's out, he's speaking, and they're very careful with him. And this is part and parcel of the reason why, because they have to kind of clean up a lot of this stuff. And it gets to be a little bit, I think, demeaning that the president the next day has to come out and agree with his staff that he really didn't mean what he plainly said hours or days before.
Trace, that quote really stood out to me, too. Let's pop it up. We have it as a full screen from the Wall Street Journal editorial board. Cassie, I mean, I remember being on Air Force One and wondering what some of President Biden's stances were. And, he'd call a lid very early when we were just beginning our day there at the White House, multiple stops across the country. But he really had the luxury of being in the basement. Even in the debates, foreign policy was kind of an asterisk in at least some of the debates. It wasn't, a main topic of conversation.
Yeah, and it's amazing
right, because
oh, sorry, Cassie. Oh. I'm new to the show,
just
so it's my first time on.
All good, all good. Cassie, then Trace.
Well, all the points that were made, because we were all just supposed to trust. This was the guy with 50 years of experience, right? No need to ask, no need to verify, no need to get his perspective, because we should have it. 50 years of experience of being wrong on nearly every major foreign policy issue. That should have been enough for us to know. But I will take Emily's point with the voters at the voting block. There's a new poll out today that a whopping 71% of Americans have little or no confidence in the president's response on Ukraine. He's at a 40% approval rating, 55% disapproval, I think. And that's bad news for Democrats writ large, because this is their leader. It's not only the leader of our country, it's the leader of their party. And Americans right now are saying things are bad abroad, things are bad at home, and the finger pointing is at you guys who keep steering us in the wrong direction and making us the laughing stock of the world, let alone hurting our own family's bottom line and pocketbooks. So this is something that's going to be persistent for people like me who love to point out where the Democrats are getting it wrong.
Trace.
I just want to quickly point out the poll, not about Biden's handling of the war in Ukraine. The poll is about whether he is equipped to handle the war in Ukraine. There's a big difference, and when 71%, I mean, you can't get 71% of the population to agree the sky is blue. When 71% do not believe he is equipped to handle it, those are devastating numbers for the White House.
It's a startling number, and I think we just put a lot of footnotes on the reason 71% of the American people feel that way.